Asterisk. When Marine Sergeant Jake Coleman walked into his living room, his 6-year-old son, Liam, was sobbing under the table, his tiny body trembling. The babysitter, arms crossed, coldly said, "He deserved it." What Jake did next would redefine what it means to be a father. This is a story about sacrifice, redemption, and the unbreakable bond between a father and son. Asterisk. Before we dive into this emotional journey, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Stories like this remind us of the power of love and second chances. Don't miss out. The unexpected homecoming. The front door creaked open, a sound Sergeant Jake Coleman hadn't heard in over a year. The hinges needed oil, something he'd always meant to fix but never got around to before deployment. The house smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and something sweet, like the vanilla candles Karen used to burn. But Karen wasn't here anymore. Just Liam, his son. Jake dropped his duffel bag quietly, not wanting to startle anyone. He hadn't told them he was coming home early. After 3 tours overseas, he'd learned that surprises were better than long goodbyes. The last video call with Liam had been weeks ago. The boy's small face pressed too close to the screen, his voice tinny through the connection. "When are you coming back, Daddy?" Jake had lied and said soon, because what else could he say? The living room was dim, the blinds half closed against the afternoon sun. No TV noise, no laughter. Just silence. His boots thudded softly against the hardwood as he moved further inside, scanning for signs of life. Then a sound, a muffled sniffle. Jake froze. It was coming from the dining room. He rounded the corner and saw it immediately, the tremble of small shoulders beneath the wooden table. Liam was curled into a tight ball, his knees pressed to his chest, his face buried in his arms. His tiny frame shuddered with quiet, hiccuping sobs. Jake's stomach dropped. Before he could move, a voice cut through the stillness. "He's fine." Miss Carla, the babysitter, stood near the kitchen doorway, arms crossed. She was a woman in her late 40s, her dark hair pulled into a severe bun, her lips pressed into a thin line. She didn't look surprised to see him, just annoyed. Jake ignored her, dropping to one knee beside the table. "Liam?" His voice came out rougher than he meant it to. The boy flinched but didn't look up. Jake reached out, hesitated, then gently touched his son's shoulder. "Hey, buddy, it's me." Liam finally lifted his head. His face was blotchy, his eyes swollen from crying. For a heartbeat, he just stared, as if he wasn't sure Jake was real. Then his chin wobbled. "Daddy." The word cracked something open in Jake's chest. Before he could respond, Carla spoke again, her voice sharp. "He's been acting up all day, throwing tantrums, screaming. I had to put him in timeout." Jake's jaw tightened. He knew discipline. He'd been raised on it, first by his drill sergeant or father, then by the Marines. But this wasn't discipline. This was fear. He kept his voice low, controlled. "Liam, what happened?" The boy's breath hitched. His fingers twisted in the fabric of his shirt. She said. "He was being disrespectful," Carla interrupted. "I told him if he didn't behave, there'd be consequences." Jake shot her a look. "I wasn't asking you." For the first time, Carla's confidence flickered. Liam swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. "She said you weren't coming home, that you were going to die like Grandpa did." The air left Jake's lungs. His father had been Kia in Iraq when Jake was 8. He'd spent his whole childhood waiting for the knock on the door, the folded flag, the hushed voices saying hero and sacrifice like those words could fill the hole left behind. And now this woman, this stranger, had put that same fear into his son's heart. Jake stood slowly, his body humming with something dangerous. He turned to Carla, his voice lethally calm. "You told my son I was going to die." She lifted her chin. "I was making a point. He wouldn't stop crying for you. He needed to understand that soldiers don't always come back." The room tilted. Jake had faced insurgents, IEDs, nights so dark he couldn't see his own hands. But nothing had ever made him feel this kind of rage. He took a step toward her. "Get out." Carla blinked. "Excuse me." "You're fired. Get your things and leave. Now." For a second, she looked like she might argue. Then she scoffed. shaking her head as she grabbed her purse from the counter. "You're making a mistake. That boy needs structure, not coddling." Jake didn't respond. He just watched as she walked out, the door slamming behind her. Then he turned back to Liam, still huddled under the table. And for the first time since he'd stepped off the plane, Jake Coleman had no idea what to do next. He was a Marine, but right now, he needed to be a father. The truth unfolds. The silence in the house was suffocating. Jake knelt beside the table, his knees pressing into the hardwood floor, his hands hovering just above Liam's small, trembling shoulders. He wanted to pull his son into his arms, to hold him tight and promise him that everything was okay. But the way Liam flinched at sudden movements, the way his breath hitched like he was bracing for a blow, stopped him. "Liam," Jake said softly, keeping his voice low, steady. The way he'd talk to a scared private in a firefight. "Look at me, buddy." Liam's fingers dug into the fabric of his shirt, his knuckles white. Slowly, he lifted his head. His eyes were red-rimmed, his cheeks streaked with tears. "Did she hurt you?" Jake asked, his gut twisting at the thought. Liam shook his head, but his lower lip wobbled. "And no, but she said you weren't coming back, that you were going to get blown up like Grandpa." Jake's hands curled into fists at his sides. He forced them to relax. This wasn't the time for anger. Liam needed him calm, needed him present. "That's not true," Jake said, holding his son's gaze. "I promised I'd come home, didn't I?" Liam sniffled. "But she said promises get broken all the time." Jake exhaled sharply. Carla had planted a seed of doubt in his son's mind, and now he had to rip it out before it took root. "Listen to me," Jake said, shifting closer. "People say a lot of things. But you know what? I'm here, right now, and I'm not going anywhere." Liam's breath shuddered. "Really? Really?" Jake reached out, slow enough that Liam could pull away if he wanted to. But this time, his son didn't flinch. Jake's hand settled on his shoulder, warm and solid. "I'm home for good this time, Liam. No more deployments. Just you and me." For a moment, Liam just stared at him, his big eyes searching Jake's face like he was looking for the lie. Then, all at once, the dam broke. Liam launched himself forward, crashing into Jake's chest with enough force to knock the breath out of him. Small arms wrapped around his neck, clinging so tight it almost hurt. Jake didn't care. He hugged his son back just as fiercely, one hand cradling the back of Liam's head, the other pressing him close. Liam's tears soaked into the fabric of his shirt, hot and damp against the skin. "I missed you," Liam whispered, his voice muffled against Jake's shoulder. Jake swallowed hard. "I missed you too, buddy. More than you know." They stayed like that for a long time, kneeling on the floor, the house silent around them. Jake could feel Liam's heartbeat against his own, fast but steadying. Slowly, the tension in the boy's body began to ease. Finally, Liam pulled back just enough to look at him. "Is Miss Carla really gone?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, she's gone." "Good," Liam muttered, wiping his nose with the back of his hand. "She was mean." Jake huffed a quiet laugh. "Yeah, she was." He stood, lifting Liam with him. The boy felt lighter than he should have, like the weight of the last year had hollowed him out. Jake made a mental note to fix that. More meals, more laughter, more life. "You hungry?" Jake asked, carrying Liam toward the kitchen. Liam shrugged, but his stomach betrayed him with a loud growl. Jake smirked. "I'll take that as a yes." He set Liam down on the counter, then rummaged through the fridge. It was depressingly empty, just a half-gallon of milk, some wilted lettuce, and a container of leftover Chinese takeout that looked questionable at best. "How do pancakes sound?" Jake asked, grabbing the box of mix from the pantry. Liam's eyes lit up. "Chocolate chip ones?" "You got it." As Jake mixed the batter, Liam swung his legs, watching him with quiet curiosity. "Daddy?" "Yeah." "Are you really staying forever?" Jake paused, the whisk hovering over the bowl. He turned to face his son, his expression serious. "I'm not going anywhere, Liam. Not ever again." Liam studied him for a long moment, then nodded, like he was filing the promise away somewhere safe. "Okay." Jake poured the batter onto the griddle, the sizzle filling the kitchen. For the first time in years, The house didn't feel empty. It felt like home. But as Liam chattered about school and his friends, Jake's mind kept circling back to Carla's words. You think you can just waltz back into his life? You're a soldier, not a father. The doubt crept in, cold and unwelcome. Was she right? Jake shook his head, flipping a pancake with more force than necessary. No, he'd spent his life fighting battles. This was one he wouldn't lose. A father's wrath. The pancakes were a hit. Liam devoured 3 of them. Chocolate syrup smeared across his cheeks, his earlier tears forgotten. Jake watched him with a quiet ache in his chest. How many moments like this had he missed? How many mornings had Liam sat at this table alone, with no one to make him smile? The guilt was a live wire under his skin. Jake cleaned up the dishes while Liam colored at the table, his small tongue poking out in concentration as he scribbled vibrant blues and reds across the page. The domesticity of it all felt foreign yet comforting, like slipping into an old jacket he'd forgotten he owned. Then the doorbell rang. Liam's head snapped up, his crayon freezing mid-stroke. His eyes flicked to Jake, wide and uncertain. "It's okay," Jake said, drying his hands on a dish towel. "Stay here." He moved to the door, his muscles coiled tight. He wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, he saw Carla standing on the porch, her arms crossed, her expression pinched. Jake's jaw clenched. He yanked the door open. "You got 5 seconds to tell me why you're here," he said, his voice low and dangerous. Carla didn't flinch. "I left my jacket. It's 70 degrees outside." "It's mine," she snapped, "and I want it back." Jake stepped onto the porch, pulling the door shut behind him. He wasn't letting this woman anywhere near Liam again. "You told my son I was going to die," he said, each word sharp as a blade. "You scared him so badly he hid under a table. And now you're standing on my porch like you have the right to be here." Carla's lips curled. "I was teaching him respect. Something he clearly doesn't get from you." The words hit like a punch. Jake took a step forward, his height and build towering over her. For the first time, Carla's confidence wavered. She took an involuntary step back. "Listen carefully," Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. "If you ever come near my son again, if you ever speak to him, if you so much as look at him, I will make sure you regret it. Are we clear?" Carla's face paled, but she lifted her chin. "You think you're intimidating me? I've dealt with worse than you." Jake smiled, a cold, humorless thing. "No, Carla, you haven't." For a long moment, they stood there, locked in a silent battle of wills. Then Carla scoffed, turning on her heel. "You'll see," she tossed over her shoulder as she stalked away. "You can't just waltz back into his life and pretend you know what's best. You're a soldier, not a father." The screen door slammed as Jake stepped back inside, his hands shaking with adrenaline. Liam was no longer at the table. "Liam?" Jake called, scanning the living room. No answer. His heart lurched. Had he heard the argument? Had he? Then he spotted him, curled into a ball on the couch, his arms wrapped around his knees, his face buried, just like under the table. Jake's stomach dropped. He crossed the room in 3 strides, sinking to his knees in front of the couch. "Liam," he said softly. "It's okay. She's gone." Liam peeked up, his eyes red-rimmed. "Was she yelling at you?" Jake exhaled. "Yeah, but it's over." "I don't like yelling," Liam whispered. The words cut deep. Jake had spent years barking orders, his voice sharp and commanding. Had Liam heard him on video calls? Had he flinched then, too? "I know, buddy," Jake said, running a hand over Liam's hair. "I'm sorry you had to hear that." Liam hesitated, then asked in a small voice, "Are you going to leave again?" Jake's throat tightened. Carla's poison had already seeped in. "No," he said firmly. "Not ever." Liam studied him, his little face serious. "Promise." Jake held out his pinky. "Promise." Liam linked his tiny finger with Jake's, a ghost of a smile tugging at his lips. But as Jake pulled his son into a hug, his mind raced. Carla was gone, but her words lingered. "You're a soldier, not a father." Jake tightened his grip on Liam. He'd prove her wrong, no matter what it took. The breaking point. The rest of the afternoon passed in fragile calm. Jake kept Liam close, letting him lead the way, whether that meant building a fortress of couch cushions or watching cartoons with the volume turned low. Every time Liam laughed, some tight knot in Jake's chest loosened. But as evening fell, the boy grew quiet again. He picked at his dinner, pushing macaroni around his plate with listless fingers. "Not hungry?" Jake asked. Liam shook his head, but his stomach betrayed him with a quiet growl. Jake frowned. This wasn't just about food. "You want to tell me what's really going on?" Liam's lower lip trembled. "What if Miss Carla comes back?" The fear in his voice sent a white-hot flash of anger through Jake. He forced it down. "She won't. I won't let her." But she said... Whatever she said doesn't matter. Jake moved to crouch beside Liam's chair. I level with him. "You know what matters? This." He tapped Liam's chest lightly, right over his heart. "How brave you are. How strong. No one gets to make you feel small, Liam. No one." Liam's eyes welled up. "I tried to be brave." "Oh, buddy." Jake pulled him into a hug, feeling small arms clutch at his shirt. "You are. Every single day." As he held his son, Jake made a decision. Words weren't enough. Liam needed to feel safe in his own home again. "Hey," Jake said, pulling back. "How about we do something fun tonight? Something special." Liam sniffled. "Like what?" "Camp out in the living room. Blanket fort. Popcorn. The works." For the first time since Jake had found him under that table, Liam's face lit up with genuine excitement. "Really? Really? Go grab every pillow and blanket you can find." As Liam scampered off, Jake pulled out his phone. 3 missed calls from an unknown number, probably a telemarketer. He ignored it, turning his attention to dismantling the coffee table to make space for their fort. The transformation was chaotic and perfect. Sheets draped over furniture, cushions forming walls, a flashlight dangling from the ceiling like a makeshift lantern. Liam giggled as Jake pretended to get tangled in a blanket, his military precision failing spectacularly at domesticity. They were halfway through a bag of buttery popcorn when Liam's eyelids started drooping. Jake tucked him into the nest of blankets, smoothing back his hair. "Daddy," Liam murmured sleepily. "Yeah, buddy. Can we do this every night?" Jake's throat tightened. "Not every night, but a lot. Promise." As Liam's breathing evened out, Jake stayed watchful in the dim glow of the flashlight. Every rustle of fabric, every sigh from his son, reminded him how close he'd come to losing this, to failing him. His phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Jaw clenched, Jake stepped outside to answer. "Coleman." "Sergeant Coleman?" A woman's voice, crisp and professional. "This is Principal Hendricks at Maplewood Elementary. We need to discuss Liam's recent incidents." Jake's grip tightened on the phone. "What incidents?" A pause. "Perhaps it's best we meet in person. Can you come by tomorrow at 8? Through the window, Jake could see the rise and fall of Liam's small chest under the blankets. Whatever this was, he'd face it head-on. "I'll be there." Hanging up, Jake stared at the darkened neighborhood. Carla's words came back to him, sharper now. "You're a soldier, not a father." He turned his back on the night, stepping inside where his son slept. Let the world try to tell him who he was supposed to be. He already knew. The first night alone. The principal's words had left a cold knot in Jake's stomach. Incidents. What the hell did that mean? He'd spent the rest of the night watching Liam sleep. The boy's face peaceful in the glow of their makeshift fort, completely unaware of the storm brewing around them. Morning came too soon. Jake moved through the routine mechanically, pouring cereal, packing Liam's backpack, tying tiny shoelaces, all while his mind raced. He needed to get Liam to school, meet with the principal, and figure out what damage Carla had done. "Daddy, you're squeezing too tight," Liam mumbled as Jake fixed his collar. Jake blinked, realizing his fingers were clenched in the fabric. He forced them to relax. "Sorry, buddy." Liam studied him with those 2 perceptive eyes. "Are you mad at me?" The question hit like a punch to the gut. "No, never." Jake crouched down. "Listen, I have to talk to your principal today. Is there anything I should know about?" Liam's face went carefully blank. The same expression Jake had seen in the mirror as a kid when drill sergeants asked if he was scared. No, Jake knew a lie when he heard one. But pushing now would only make Liam shut down further. He ruffled the boy's hair instead. Okay, let's go. The school hallway smelled like pencil shavings and disinfectant. Too bright, too loud. Jake's boots echoed on the linoleum as they walked toward the principal's office, Liam's small hand gripping two of his fingers. At the door, Liam froze. Do you have to go in? Jake studied the sudden panic in his son's face. Yeah, I do. But you're not in trouble, Liam. Whatever this is, we'll handle it together. A secretary led Liam to class while Principal Hendricks, a stern woman with silver-streaked hair, gestured Jake into her office. The walls were lined with awards and team photos, but Jake's attention locked onto the folder labeled Coleman, Liam sitting squarely on the desk. Sergeant Coleman, Hendricks began, we've had some concerning behavior from Liam these past few months. Jake's spine straightened. What kind of behavior? She opened the folder. Fighting. Refusing to participate. Last week, he threw a chair. A chair? Liam barely reached Jake's waist. The kid cried when he stepped on ants. There's more, Hendricks continued. He tells other students his father isn't coming home, that soldiers always die. It's unsettling for the other children. Jake's vision tunneled. Carla's voice whispered in his memory. You weren't coming back. That you were going to die like Grandpa did. He's not a violent kid. Jake said through clenched teeth. Not normally, no. But these outbursts always happen after sessions with the school counselor. Jake went very still. What sessions? Hendricks frowned. The mandatory grief counseling, since his mother passed. The air left Jake's lungs. Karen, of course. He'd been so focused on his own failures. He hadn't considered how much Liam was still hurting from losing her. And the counselor, Jake asked slowly, who recommended that? Hendricks checked her notes. Actually, it was his former babysitter. Miss Carla? She said Liam needed professional help processing. Well, all the loss in his life. The pieces clicked together with terrible clarity. Carla hadn't just been cruel at home. She'd been systematically undermining Liam's sense of safety everywhere. Jake stood abruptly, the chair scraping. I want those counseling sessions stopped. Today. Sergeant Coleman, I understand you're upset. No. Jake planted his hands on the desk. You listen. My son isn't violent. He's grieving. And someone's been feeding him nightmares disguised as therapy. Hendricks' eyes widened. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth. Jake straightened, pulling out his phone. I'll get a child psychologist evaluation by the end of the week. But until then, no one talks to Liam about death. No one. The walk to Liam's classroom felt like marching toward a battlefield. Through the small window in the door, Jake spotted his son sitting apart from the other kids, head down as he scribbled on paper. Alone. Always alone. When the teacher let Jake in, Liam's face lit up, then immediately clouded with worry. Are we in trouble? Jake knelt, ignoring the stares of 21st graders. No, buddy, but we're going home early today. As they walked back to the car, Liam swung their clasped hands. Daddy, can we build another fort tonight? Jake's throat tightened. Yeah, we can do that. But first he had calls to make, starting with the best child psychologist in the state, and maybe a lawyer. Because one thing was clear, this war for his son's peace of mind was far from over. The hardest battle yet. The psychologist's office smelled like lavender and old books. Liam sat stiffly in the oversized chair, his sneakers dangling a foot above the floor, clutching the stuffed wolf Jake had bought him on the way here. Dr. Ruiz, a woman with kind eyes and silver threading through her dark curls, knelt beside him, speaking softly. Liam, do you know why you're here today? Liam's grip tightened on the toy. His eyes flicked to Jake, who gave an encouraging nod from his seat against the wall. Because I threw a chair, Liam whispered. Dr. Ruiz didn't react to confession. Do you remember what happened before you threw it? Liam's lower lip trembled. Miss Carla said, she said Daddy wasn't coming home, that he'd die like Grandpa. And then Mrs. Perkins said the same thing in counseling. Jake's hands curled into fists. Mrs. Perkins, the school counselor. Dr. Ruiz kept her voice gentle. And how did that make you feel? A single tear rolled down Liam's cheek, like my tummy was full of bees. The session lasted another 40 minutes. Jake watched as Dr. Ruiz guided Liam through drawings, through play, through questions so subtle the boy didn't realize he was revealing his deepest fears. When they finally stepped out into the afternoon sun, Liam was exhausted but lighter, as if he'd put down a weight he'd been carrying too long. Jake buckled him into the car. Ice cream. Liam managed a small smile. With sprinkles. With all the sprinkles. As Liam devoured a rainbow-covered scoop of mint chocolate chip, Jake's phone buzzed. Dr. Ruiz's summary email included phrases that made his blood run cold. Prolonged emotion manipulation, signs of traumatic grief, clear attachment anxiety. But the last line cut deepest. Liam believes he must prepare for your death. The spoon clattered from Jake's numb fingers. Daddy? Liam eyed the fallen utensil with concern. You okay? Jake forced a smile. Yeah, buddy. Just thinking. That night, after tucking Liam in, no nightmares tonight, please. Jake poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey and stared at the paperwork spread across the kitchen table. Dr. Ruiz's recommendations. School records. The journal Liam's teacher had sent home, filled with drawings of soldiers with X's over their eyes. His phone lit up with a new email. The subject line made his stomach drop. Custody concerns. Karen's sister, Emily, had been CC'd. Jake opened it to find a terse message from the school district's legal team, requesting a meeting to discuss Liam's ongoing behavioral needs. The subtext was clear. We're questioning your fitness as a parent. The whiskey burned going down. Jake knew how this looked. The absentee father, the traumatized son, the sudden re-entry into civilian life. He'd seen enough custody battles during his service to recognize the opening moves. A soft sound made him turn. Liam stood in the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. I had a bad dream. Jake was moving before the words fully registered, sweeping Liam into his arms. The boy felt impossibly small in his embrace. His heartbeat rapid against Jake's chest. Want to talk about it? Jake murmured into his hair. Liam shook his head, then whispered, You were gone. Something inside Jake shattered. He carried Liam to the living room, settling onto the couch with the boy curled against him. On the TV, a nature documentary played silently. Wolves moving through snowy woods. See that big one in front? Jake pointed. That's the alpha. Know what his most important job is. Liam shook his head. Keeping the pack safe. No matter what. Jake pressed a kiss to Liam's forehead. That's my job, too. Liam's fingers twisted in Jake's shirt. But what if something bad happens? Jake thought of the emails. The lawyers. The long road ahead. He chose his next words carefully. Bad things might happen, buddy. But here's the secret. We get to face them together. That makes us stronger than anything. As Liam's breathing evened out, Jake stared at the flickering screen, the wolves moving as one through the dark. He finally understood his real mission. Not just to protect Liam from the world, but to teach him how to face it. A shocking revelation. The morning sun filtered through the blinds as Jake shuffled through the stack of mail that had accumulated during his deployment. Bills, advertisements, a few letters addressed to Karen that made his throat tighten. He set those aside carefully, like handling fragile artifacts. Liam was still asleep, worn out from their late-night talk. Jake used the quiet time to brew coffee and organize the growing pile of documents for his upcoming meeting with the school district. He flipped open Liam's backpack to check for homework, only to freeze when his fingers brushed against something unexpected. A folded piece of construction paper, edges worn from repeated handling. Jake carefully opened it, revealing a child's drawing in violent red and black crayon. Stick figures with guns. A house on fire. And in the corner, a tiny figure with Jake's dog tags around his neck. Tears drawn as blue streaks down his face. At the bottom, in Liam's shaky handwriting, I don't want Daddy to go away forever. The coffee turned to acid in Jake's stomach. He flipped through more papers, math worksheets with doodles of tanks in the margins, spelling tests where Liam had written deploy and soldier instead of the assigned words. Then he found a notebook. It was half hidden beneath Liam's lunchbox, its cover decorated with superhero stickers. Inside, page after page of drawings, each more disturbing than the last. Soldiers with missing limbs, gravestones with Karen's name, and one that made Jake's hands shake. A detailed sketch of Carla standing over a sobbing Liam, her speech bubble filled with the words, "He's already dead." The last page wasn't a drawing. It was a list written in Liam's painstaking print. Things that make Daddy die. Bad guys with guns. Bombs. The airplane crashing. Getting sick from the water. Being sad too much. Jake had to brace himself against the counter. This wasn't just fear. This was systematic conditioning. His son had been cataloging every possible way to lose him. A creak from a hallway snapped his attention up. Liam stood there, still in his dinosaur pajamas, eyes wide as he took in the spread of papers. His face crumpled. You weren't supposed to see that. Jake moved slowly, kneeling to meet Liam at eye level. "Hey, it's okay." Liam burst into tears. Now he'll be mad and leave. The words hit like shrapnel. Jake gathered his son close, feeling the small body tremble against him. "Nothing could make me leave you. Nothing." Liam sobbed into his shoulder. "But the book says..." "That book is wrong." Jake pulled back just enough to wipe Liam's tears. "You know what we're going to do today? We're going to make a new book. One with all the reasons I'm coming home." Liam sniffled. "Like what?" Jake thought fast. "Like how you're the best pancake maker in the world, and how nobody gives hugs like you do, and..." He grabbed a nearby crayon, flipping the notebook to a fresh page. "This." He drew two stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands beneath a lopsided sun. Underneath he wrote, "Things that make Daddy stay." Liam's laugh. "Fortnights. Being his favorite person in the whole world." Liam traced the words with a tentative finger. "Really? Really?" Jake tapped the page. "This is our truth now, not the scary stuff." As Liam carefully added a dog to the drawing, Jake's phone buzzed. Emily's name flashed on the screen. He hesitated, then answered. "Jake." Emily's voice was strained. "You need to check your email. The school filed a report with Child Protective Services." The room tilted. Jake watched Liam humming as he colored, completely unaware of the new threat looming over them. "We'll fight it," Jake said quietly. "You don't understand." Emily's breath hitched. "They're not just questioning your parenting. They're questioning whether Liam will be better off with me." The crayon snapped in Jake's hand. Across the table, Liam looked up, his eyes too old for his face. "Daddy, are you crying?" Jake hadn't even felt the tears. He wiped them away, forcing a smile. "Nah, buddy, just got something in my eye." But as Liam returned to his drawing, Jake stared at the ruined notebook, at the war his son had been fighting alone on paper, and made a silent vow. They want to take Liam? Let them try. The turning point. Rain lashed against the windows as Jake paced the living room. Phone pressed his ear. The CPS investigator's words echoed through his mind. "We'll need to conduct a home visit next Tuesday." He'd been through ambushes, firefights, IED explosions, but nothing had prepared him for the terror of those words. A small sound made him turn. Liam stood in the hallway, clutching his wolf plushie, eyes wide. "Daddy? Who was that?" Jake forced his voice steady. "Just some grown-up stuff, buddy." Liam didn't blink. "Are they going to take me away?" The directness of the question knocked the wind out of Jake. He crossed the room in 3 strides, kneeling to grip Liam's small shoulders. "Listen to me. No one is taking you anywhere. Not ever." Liam's lower lip trembled. "But Tommy at school said..." "Tommy doesn't know what he's talking about." Jake pulled his son close, breathing in the scent of strawberry shampoo and little boy sweat. "We're a team, remember? Teams stick together." The next morning, Jake dropped Liam at school with extra hugs and a promise of pizza for dinner. Then he drove straight to Emily's apartment. His sister-in-law opened the door before he could knock, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. "I was wondering when you'd show up." The apartment smelled like Karen's perfume, something floral she'd loved. Jake's chest ached at the memory. "Did you know?" he demanded, not bothering with pleasantries. "About the CPS call?" Emily crossed her arms. "Not until after. But Jake, look at Liam. He's terrified all the time. drawing those awful pictures, having meltdowns at school. So your solution is to take him from me? No. Emily's voice broke. My solution is to help him. But you're so busy playing the tough guy, you won't admit you're in over your head. Jake opened his mouth to fire back, then stopped. Because she was right. He sank onto Karen's old sofa, the one she'd picked out because it was sunshine yellow. The fabric was worn where she used to curl up with her books. I don't know what to do, he admitted, the words raw. Every time I think I'm getting through to him, something else happens. That damn babysitter poisoned his mind, Em. And now, Emily sat beside him, her anger fading. Now you're fighting a war on two fronts. CPS and Liam's trauma. They sat in silence for a long moment. Outside, rain continued to patter against the windows. Finally, Emily sighed. I didn't ask for this, Jake. But if they come after your custody, I know. He met her gaze. Just promise me one thing. If it goes that way, you'll let me see him. Every day. Emily's eyes filled with tears. Of course. Jake left with a lead weight in his chest. He drove aimlessly for hours, past the base, past the park where he'd pushed Liam on swings last summer, past all the moments he'd missed. When he finally picked Liam up from school, the boy ran to him with uncharacteristic excitement. Daddy, look what I made. He thrust a paper into Jake's hands, a crayon drawing of two stick figures holding hands beneath a rainbow. At the top, in wobbly letters, my dad is my hero. Something hot and painful lodged in Jake's throat. That's amazing, buddy. He knelt to pull Liam into a hug, hide his face in the boy's shoulder until he could trust his voice again. You know what? We're going somewhere special tonight. Where? You'll see. An hour later, they stood outside a nondescript building downtown. The sign read, Veterans Family Counseling Center. Liam froze. Is this a doctor? Jake squeezed his hand. Sort of. It's a place where dads and kids talk about big feelings. Together. Liam studied the building with suspicion. Will it make the bees in my tummy go away? I hope so, buddy. I really do. Inside, they were greeted by a man with a prosthetic leg and a warm smile. Sergeant Coleman? I'm Dr. Patel, and you must be Liam. As Liam hesitantly shook the doctor's hand, Jake felt something shift, like the first click of a lock finally turning after years of rust. This wasn't surrender. It was strategy. The babysitter's revenge. The counseling center had become part of their weekly routine. Every Thursday after school, Liam would chatter excitedly about the feelings doctor, who let him play with toy soldiers while they talked. Jake watched the changes in his son. The nightmares became less frequent, the drawings brighter, the laughter more genuine. But just as one battle eased, another escalated. Jake was reviewing CPS paperwork at the kitchen table when his phone buzzed with an unknown number. He answered warily. Sergeant Coleman? A woman's crisp voice. This is Margaret Cho from the Cedar Ridge Tribune. We received some concerning allegations about your parenting and wanted to give you a chance to comment before we run the story. Jake's pen snapped in his hand. What allegations? Claims of neglect, emotional abuse. Sources say your son exhibits severe trauma responses directly linked to your. Who gave you this information? Jake's voice was dangerously calm. Our sources are confidential, but we have documentation from the school and... Miss Carla. The name left Jake's mouth like a curse. Listen carefully. If you print one word of this garbage, my lawyer will own your newspaper. Those sources are under investigation for child psychological abuse. A pause. You're saying these claims are fabricated? I'm saying check your facts before you destroy an innocent kid's life. He hung up, his hand shaking. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, Jake saw two uniformed officers. His stomach dropped. Sergeant Coleman? The older cop nodded politely as Jake opened the door. We received a welfare check request regarding your son. Mind if we take a look around? Jake stepped aside, his jaw clenched. Be my guest. The officers moved to the house with professional detachment, checking the fridge full, Liam's room, tidy, with a new nightlight shaped like a star, the bathroom, child-proofed, with dinosaur toothpaste by the sink. The younger cop paused at Liam's artwork displayed on the fridge. The "My dad is my hero" drawing. Your boy do this? Jake nodded. Nice. The cop smiled. My kid's into dinosaurs. Drives my wife nuts finding plastic stegosauruses in the laundry. The tension in Jake's shoulders eased slightly. Maybe this would be... Then the older cop's radio crackled. Unit 12. We have a 10 to 31 in progress at Maplewood Elementary. Possible custody dispute involving a Coleman, Liam. Jake was out the door before the officers could react, sprinting to his truck, tires screeching as he peeled out of the driveway. The school parking lot was chaos. A news van, police cruisers, and at the center, Emily, gripping Liam's hand while Carla stood opposite them, flanked by a CPS worker Jake didn't recognize. Liam was crying. Jake shoved to the crowd, ignoring shouted questions from reporters. He dropped to his knees in front of Liam, blocking out everything else. Hey, buddy, I'm here. Liam launched into his arms, small body trembling. She said I had to go with her. He pointed a shaking finger at Carla. Jake stood slowly, keeping Liam behind him as he faced a woman who'd haunted their lives. What the hell are you doing? Carla smiled, the same cold expression she'd worn when she told Liam his father would die. Just looking out for Liam's best interests. Since you clearly can't. The CPS worker, a tired-looking man with a clipboard, stepped forward. Mr. Coleman, we received new evidence suggesting your son may be in danger. We'll need to take him into temporary custody while. Like hell you will. Jake's voice carried across the parking lot. He pulled out his phone, pulling up a file Dr. Patel had helped him prepare. This is a psychological evaluation from Dr. Raj Patel, head of the Veterans Family Counseling Center. It details how Miss Carla systematically traumatized my son by convincing him I would die overseas. That's not protection, that's abuse. Carla's smile faltered. Emily stepped forward. And I'm retracting my support for any custody change. Jake's done more for Liam in 3 months than anyone could expect. The CPS worker hesitated, scanning the document. The reporters edged closer, cameras rolling. Then a small voice. Daddy. Liam tugged Jake's sleeve. When Jake knelt, Liam whispered in his ear, I have the bad words. Jake frowned. What bad words, buddy? Liam took a deep breath, then turned to face the crowd. His voice shook but grew stronger with each word. Miss Carla said if I told anyone the secret, she'd make sure I never saw Daddy again. But Dr. Patel says secrets that hurt aren't good secrets. A hush fell over the crowd. Liam pointed at Carla. She told me to throw the chair. She said if I got in trouble enough, Daddy would go away forever. The gasp from the crowd was audible. Carla's face went pale. Jake pulled Liam close, his heart pounding. You're so brave, buddy. So brave. As the officers moved toward Carla, as the CPS worker began frantically taking notes, Jake met Emily's tear-filled eyes over Liam's head. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, they'd won a battle. Fight for custody. The fallout from Liam's revelation was swift. Carla was escorted from the school in handcuffs, her face a mask of fury as reporters shouted questions. The CPS worker closed his case with a terse, we'll be in touch. But Jake knew better than to believe the battle was over. That night, after Liam finally fell into an exhausted sleep, Jake sat at the kitchen table with Emily and a family lawyer named Daniel Reyes, a former JAG officer with a reputation for winning impossible cases. This changes things, Reyes said, flipping through Jake's meticulous documentation. The drawings, the counseling notes, the recorded phone calls from Carla. But the system doesn't move on, she said. We need irrefutable proof. Emily leaned forward. What about Liam's testimony? Reyes shook his head. Courts hesitate to put kids on the stand. Too traumatizing. Jake's fingers tapped a restless rhythm against his coffee mug. There's more. He pulled out his phone, playing a voicemail Carla had left 2 weeks prior. Her voice dripping with venom. You think you've won? Just wait, Sergeant. By the time I'm done, you'll wish you died overseas with your father. Emily gasped. Jesus. Rhea's eyes gleamed. Now that's evidence. But we need to move fast before she bonds out. The next 72 hours passed in a blur. Jake juggled parenting with legal meetings, ensuring Liam's routine stayed normal even as their lives hung in the balance. The boy had nightmares again, waking screaming about the bad lady coming back. Jake slept on the floor beside his bed, one hand always resting on Liam's back. On the morning of the custody hearing, Jake dressed Liam in his nicest button-down, the one Karen had bought for picture day. As he smoothed the boy's collar, Liam looked up with solemn eyes. Are they going to make me live with Aunt Emily? Jake's throat tightened. He knelt, adjusting the dog tags Liam insisted on wearing over his shirt. Not today, not ever. But I need you to be extra brave, okay? There might be some scary grown-up talk. Liam nodded, then reached into his pocket, pulling out a crumpled drawing. I made this for the judge. It depicted two stick figures, one tall, one small, standing together against a scribbled black mask labeled Bad Guys. Above them, in Liam's careful printing, My daddy protects me. The courthouse was packed. Reporters, veterans, advocates, even some of Liam's teachers. Carla sat at the defendant's table, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear. Then the judge entered, a silver-haired woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. The proceedings began with CPS outlining their concerns. Liam's behavioral issues, the school incidents, the unstable home environment. Jake's fingers curled into fists as they played surveillance footage of the chair-throwing incident, conveniently edited to omit Liam's subsequent breakdown. Then Reyes stood. Your Honor, if I may? With the judge's permission, he played Carla's voicemail. The courtroom erupted, but the real turning point came when Reyes called Dr. Patel to the stand. The psychologist described in clinical detail how Carla had weaponized Liam's grief, conditioning him to expect loss. Children process trauma differently than adults, Dr. Patel explained. What Miss Carla did wasn't just cruel. It was psychologically equivalent to torture. Carla's lawyer objected. Your Honor, this is speculative. Is it? The judge's voice cut like steel. Because I have here a police report from Miss Carla's former employer, detailing nearly identical allegations. She fixed Carla with a withering look. Seems this isn't your first time manipulating a child. Then, unexpectedly, Reyes called Liam to the stand. Jake shot to his feet. We agreed. Trust me, Reyes murmured. The judge allowed it, provided Liam could answer from Jake's lap. The boy clutched his drawing as the lawyer approached. Liam, Reyes said gently, can you tell us why you threw that chair? Liam's fingers twisted in Jake's shirt. Miss Carla said if I didn't, Daddy would go away, like Mommy did. A collective inhale from the courtroom. And how did that make you feel? Tears welled in Liam's eyes, like my heart was breaking. Even the court reporter paused to wipe her eyes. Reyes nodded solemnly. No further questions. Carla's lawyer attempted damage control, but it was futile. When Liam handed his drawing to the judge, the woman's stern expression softened. After closing arguments, the judge didn't even leave the bench to deliberate. Sergeant Coleman, she said, your service to this country is commendable, but what's more impressive is how you fought for your son. She slammed her gavel. Custody remains unchanged. And Miss Carla, you're facing criminal charges. As the courtroom erupted, Jake hugged Liam tightly, the boy's heartbeat fluttering against his chest like a captured bird. They'd won. But as Jake met Carla's venomous glare across the room, he knew one truth with absolute certainty. Some battles end. But fatherhood? That's a forever war. Victory and healing. The weeks following the court victory passed in a haze of quiet victories. Liam slept through the night for the first time in months. His drawings shifted from soldiers dying to soldiers coming home, hugging their families, playing with their kids. The bees in his tummy, as he called them, had finally started to settle. But Jake knew healing wasn't linear. One rainy afternoon, while sorting through old boxes in the garage, Liam found Jake's deployment duffel bag. The boy froze, his small hands clutching the strap like it might bite him. Daddy, he whispered, is this where you go away? Jake set down the box he was holding and knelt beside his son. The musty scent of the garage mixed with the sharp tang of rain on concrete. He unzipped the bag slowly, letting Liam peer inside. Empty, except for a single photo tucked in the side pocket. Liam as a baby, grinning with toothless joy. This Jake said, pulling it out. This is what I looked at every night overseas, to remind me why I was coming home. Liam traced the edges of the photo with careful fingers. But the bad people had guns. Yeah, they did. But know what I had? Jake tapped Liam's chest. You. Right here. That made me stronger than any weapon. Something shifted in Liam's eyes, a light that hadn't been there before. He grabbed Jake's hand, dragging him toward the house. Come on. In Liam's room, beneath a pile of stuffed animals, was a shoebox Jake had never seen before. Inside were dozens of folded papers, drawings upon drawings of soldiers. But these weren't the violent images from before. Each one showed a smiling man in uniform, his arms outstretched toward a waiting child. My daddy, Liam said proudly, pointing to each one. Coming home. Jake's vision blurred. He pulled Liam into a hug, breathing in the scent of crayons and little boy sweat. That night, as thunder rumbled outside, Liam crawled into Jake's bed. Something he hadn't done since the trial. Daddy? His voice was sleepy. Will I have to go to court again? Jake smoothed his son's hair. No, buddy, that's all over. Liam yawned. Good. I didn't like when the lady yelled. Jake stilled. What lady? The one who said you were bad. Liam snuggled closer. But Dr. Patel says when people yell, it's because they're scared inside. The insight was so profound Jake had to swallow hard before responding. Dr. Patel's a smart guy. Liam was already half asleep. Can we see him tomorrow? Yeah, buddy, we can do that. As Liam's breathing evened out, Jake stared at the ceiling, listening to the rain. The legal battle might be over, but the emotional one would take longer. His phone buzzed, an email from the VA. The subject line made his breath catch. Family counseling grant approved. Attached was confirmation for 12 months of fully funded sessions with Dr. Patel, plus a stipend for recreational family bonding activities. Jake looked down at Liam, his face peaceful in sleep, one small hand fisted in Jake's shirt. They'd won more than a court case. They'd won a future. And for the first time since coming home, Jake let himself believe they might just be okay. The rain softened to a gentle patter against the roof, no longer a threat, just background noise. Beside him, Liam sighed in his sleep and whispered, Love you, Daddy. Jake pressed a kiss to his son's forehead. Love you more, buddy. Outside, the storm passed. A new mission. The auditorium buzzed with the chatter of parents and children, the scent of crayons and construction paper thick in the air. Liam clutched Jake's hand as they navigated through the crowd, his little chest puffed out with pride. Today wasn't just any school event. It was Veterans Day, and Liam's first grade class had prepared a special presentation. Look, Daddy. Liam pointed to a large banner at the front of the room. Our Heroes at Home was painted in bright red and blue letters, surrounded by handprint stars. Jake squeezed his son's hand. That's amazing, buddy. A hush fell over the crowd as Principal Hendricks took the stage. Today, we honor those who've served our country, but we also celebrate the families who stand beside them. One by one, students stepped forward to share what their veteran parents meant to them. When Liam's turn came, Jake expected him to freeze, to retreat into shyness as he often did in crowds. But his son marched to the microphone with a confidence that made Jake's chest ache. My daddy is a Marine, Liam announced, his voice clear and strong. He fights bad guys, but his most important job is being my dad. He held up a drawing, two stick figures holding hands, one tall, one small, beneath a rainbow. When I was scared, he taught me that love is stronger than fear. That's why he's my hero. The applause was thunderous. Jake, who'd faced enemy fire without flinching, had to wipe his eyes. After the ceremony, as they walked to the parking lot, Liam swung their clasped hands. Daddy, I have a surprise. Yeah? What's that? Liam reached into his backpack and pulled out a small wooden box, intricately carved. Dr. Patel helped me make it. It's for your bad memories. Jake took the box, running his fingers over the engraving. A wolf and a pup, nose to nose. See, Liam explained. When you think about the scary stuff, you put in here. That way it's not in your head anymore. Jake knelt, pulling Liam into a hug so tight the boy giggled. Thank you, buddy. This is the best gift I've ever gotten." That night, as Jake tucked Liam into bed, the boy yawned. "Daddy, do you still have nightmares?" Jake thought of the box now sitting on his dresser. "Sometimes. But you know what helps?" "What?" "Knowing you're right down the hall." He kissed Liam's forehead. "Sweet dreams, soldier." Liam saluted sleepily. "Sweet dreams, Daddy." Downstairs, Jake poured himself a coffee and opened his laptop. The VA grant email still glowed on the screen. With a deep breath, he began typing his resignation from active duty and an application to become a peer counselor for veteran parents. The war had taken so much from him, but it had given him this, the understanding of what truly mattered. As he hit send, a small voice called from upstairs. "Daddy, can you check the monsters?" Jake smiled. "On my way, buddy." Because this was his most important mission yet. This story proves that even the deepest wounds can heal with love and time. If Jake and Liam's journey inspired you, share it with someone who needs hope today. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories of resilience, because every like and share helps us bring light to those fighting their toughest battles off the battlefield. Turn on notifications so you never miss an uplifting story. Who should we feature next? A single mom rebuilding after loss? A teacher changing lives? Comment below. Your suggestion might be our next video. And remember, no matter what you're facing, you're stronger than you think. Keep fighting.